Are you an institution or individual? Do you intend to organize a memorable event to be archived for future reference? Then look no further than AAU Studios, because it's your best bet with our spacious studio and state-of-the-art media equipment such as 4K Panasonic video cameras, KinoFlow lights, assorted microphones, live streaming equipment, among others. You are sure to get the best of productions. Visit us at Trinity Avenue, East Legon, adjacent the National Accreditation Board, or contact the AAU Studios via the following email addresses: info@aau.org, AAUTV@aau.org, or ransford@aau.org. Alternatively, you can call us on +233 244 736280.
Hello Africa, welcome to another episode of African Student Voices on AAU TV, and AAU TV is the voice of higher education in Africa. My name is Jimai Madaladem Duche and I'll be your host. Today we will be talking about the continuous migration of students outside Africa, curbing the push and pull factors, and I have here with me lovely guests, but I'll introduce them after the break. Don't also forget to join in the conversation on our social media handles: Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, AAU TV_African Universities on Twitter, and AAU TV Official on Instagram. We'll be right back. Welcome back from the break, and if you just joined us, this is African Student Voices on AAU TV, and today we are discussing the continuous migration of students outside Africa, curbing the push and pull factors. And I have here with me lovely guests who I'm going to give a minute to introduce themselves. I'll start from the lady.
Okay, my name is Christiana Atete Valerie. I'm a student of GIMPA. I'm in my final year studying business admin.
You're welcome, Christiana.
Thank you.
Okay, so I am Samuel Akom, a level 300 student of the University of Ghana, studying political science and linguistics.
All right, sure. You are both welcome.
Thank you very much.
So, as we all know, we are discussing the continuous migration of students outside Africa. But, first of all, I would like to get a little personal. I'll start from you, Christiana. Have you considered furthering your education outside Africa?
Yes. I intend to further after my graduation in July, or better still, do my service, then later on move outside to further maybe do my master's or work there.
All right, sure. What about you, Sammy?
Yes, I always have. I started having this feeling when in my environment, my mom's friend, the son traveled outside to study abroad, and when he came back, the kind of respect he had, I was like, wow, I also go out and
just because he has traveled outside.
Yeah. So I've also had intentions of, traveling outside the country to further my education.
Okay, but then some, in most cases, I think Valerie made that instance in her submission. Most cases, people want to, or let me say, students want to further their education outside after their first degree. What do you think is the problem? Why would they wait and do their first degree before they step out and not actually gain the experience or something?
Experience. Okay, thank you very much. Sure. And to answer the very quick question, I want to give a little bit history of how this whole thing came about. And so in somewhere 1957, after Ghana gained independence, the government of Ghana decided to give some young men in the country the opportunity to go outside the country to further their education, for the reason being that, Ghana at that time was practicing agrarian, form of development. That is, what they do is to grow what they eat and all of that. They're into cultivation. And so the government decided to send some young men outside to learn how the industries are built, how they can use the industries to gain employment and work towards the development of the country. And so that is when this whole thing started. And so after it started, over the past years, it has been increasing. It has been increasing. The reason being that young people in the country feel like, some of them feel like they need to explore. That is, they need to go into different environments to see how things are. But then I think majority of them travel outside of the country for the reason being that after school, after their first degree, they don't get employment. And you know, if after my first degree, I did not get employment, and someone comes to tell me that, oh, go and do masters, you gain employment. I won't believe the person. If I get the opportunity to travel, I'll travel. And so I think one of the major factors is as a result of employment.
Okay, Christiana, would you want to add something?
I think it's a choice of them to do their first degree here, because normally you must know someone outside before you could leave there and start from scratch. But then they prefer to go for the masters because basically when they're giving you the visa, it would be like you can go a year or two, then come back. But that is not their mindset. They just want to go there and settle. And so they use the master's program or the PhD program as a stepping stone outside.
Okay, so let me still be on you, Christiana. You know, statistics indicate that most students in Africa will consider abroad to further their education. Why? Would you say it is the educational system that we have in Africa, or it is the institutions? Why do they offer, or let me say, why do they have that decision behind their mind that they would want to travel after school, their first degree?
Thank you. So I think they feel they are outsiders. I mean, overseas, their certificate is a bit higher than we African students. And so even if you should get a first degree here and go there to work, let's use the nursing as an example. So a first degree nurse here would have to still do a top up overseas, let's say UK, US, before they can be offered at employment in the hospitals and all that. So we think our certificate is not enough. It's not to the standard of theirs. And so that is why we want to take the offer.
Okay, so would you want to add something?
Yes, to add something, I would say that it's as a result of the information they get. Because day in and day out, we've been getting information that, when you travel outside, things are quite moderate. When you get a first degree here, and then you go there, you'll be able to do better than even those who are there. And so I think such information also contributes to the students wanting to travel outside the country.
Okay. So now I want us to talk about the reasons. I know we have spoken about that, but I would want us to give some firm reasons why students would want to go outside. Because some of the courses that they want to go and study, they already have it here in their home countries. So apart from Ghana, I know other African countries too, you know, students travel outside to further their education. So what is it in Africa that the students are finding difficulties in that is making them, you know, consider or have that consideration behind their mind to go out? Christiana.
Okay, so I'd say job opportunities. It's quite difficult for a first degree student to get a job after school. Even after your master's, they'll be requiring experience. Realize the case, you've never, you know, had the chance to, you know, work. And so they prefer going outside there. Looking at the COVID situation right now, from Canada, they came down to pick people up. I have a medical friend, a medical student who went there recently, and he's being offered a job because there are low, you know, rates of workers there. And so why would he sit here and not get a job? It's better to go outside. And so I think job opportunities are one of the major reasons for them migrating to overseas.
All right.
Okay, and so aside job opportunities being a contributing factor, I also believe that the young people feel like they need to practice what they study, practice what they learn, and they think they are not getting the kind of tools, materials, or resources to actually practice what they learn. And so some of them would want to travel to actually go and have a physical feel, like have a feel of what they are studying. Because, for example, you can't tell me that every, let's say, science school in the country has all the we have some, but not enough, not all. And so they've been getting information, when you travel outside, you can get access to these things, you can use them, practice what you... So I think aside employment being a contributing factor, students wanting to practice what they learn is also a factor that we should consider.
All right, so you know, Christiana made a statement earlier that gaining a certificate from Africa is not worthy enough. What do you think is wrong with our certificates? Is it from our education? What is, you know, making our education, you know, not down to the extent that our certificates is also not worthy enough?
Well, I think with this particular question, I'll take it from the mentality perspective.
Okay.
I think it is our mentality which is making us think this way. And then another thing that I would say is that the European countries have been made to look like they are the superpowers. Like
That's
you get it.
true. Well.
They are the superpowers. And so whatever thing they have, we the Africans see what they have as prim and proper, like you get it. And so we belittle our certificates and see theirs as supreme, basically because we see them as superpowers. And so I think it's all about the mentality.
Okay. Okay, Christiana, would you?
But then I'll chip in too. Looking at some of our courses and all that we do here in Africa, when you compare it to overseas, it's like when you are doing medicine, you go according to it, like you learn about the field, but you realize you're in Ghana, you'll be learning other things which are not actually needed for the job, and so you're not able to perform your tasks. And we like to base knowledge on exams and all those things.
Yes.
The written part and everything, but outside they give you the opportunity. Yes, they add your skills. You are able to be practical. Here it's more theoretical.
That's
and
true.
so when you are out there, you are given the chance to show what you know or what you've learned. You are unable to do that. So I think that one too.
Yes, to add to what she's saying, I remember I saw a post some time ago that someone, let's say, going to study political science in the university, and then in senior high school, you ask the person to go and learn part of a mosquito. Like, I mean, how does that relate to what the person wants to do? And so that is also a factor.
But
what we don't. Okay.
But then I believe, I'm not trying to cut you short, but I believe that when you are going to the secondary school, there are courses. We have the general arts, we have the science, we have the visual arts. So why won't the person do a science, and then maybe when you come to the university and then you want to pursue a science course, it will be easier, because when you do the mosquito and then come to the university to do to have the political science course, it's somehow contradicted.
Well, yes, I understand you, but then even if you are offering general arts in senior high school, you still do science.
Well,
and science, we have topics that has the mosquito part and all of that. So.
Okay, all right, sure. So let me say, considering the cost of tuition fee, you know, when you want to go out, I realize the tuition fee of the European countries, they are very expensive. So considering the tuition fee, the visa application, struggling to reserve an accommodation and all that, don't you think there should be an enough reason, you know, for the African students to stay in their home countries to study? Christiana, I think you want to say
yes. Me, for instance, I don't see it as a struggle, because it's just a one-time thing. If you are able to finish this process and go on, trust me, it's worthy. You enjoy that. You being here, having it at your comfort zone, but then be done with school and you're just home 5 years, you still don't have a job. Better to go through the struggle and all that. Sometimes you can apply for scholarships and all the others, or even if you are able to get the tuition yourself and you can work in between hours and still study to survive.
Okay.
So to add to what she's saying, you know, arguably you cannot achieve anything without making sacrifices. And so I think the individual, the young people in Africa are willing to sacrifice, because of course, if I'm to sacrifice and go through the toil in getting tuition and fees and those, and after going to study there, I'll be employed. Why not? It's a sacrifice, of course. I will do it. Yes.
Okay. So they don't mind the stress. They will actually do it. Anything to go out.
Yes, to go
exactly. Out. Okay. So we'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Stay tuned. Welcome back from the break, and if you just joined us, this is African Student Voices on AAU TV, and AAU TV is the voice of higher education in Africa. You can also follow the conversation on our social media handles, Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, AAU TV _African Universities on Twitter, and AAU TV Official on Instagram. You're welcome from the break.
Thank you very much.
All right, so, you know, I would want us to talk about individuals settling out. You know, that is what we've been talking about. But you know, in most cases, when the individuals, or let me say the students, when they step out, or let me say they travel outside to further their education, they don't come back to give back to their home country. Why do you think? What is the problem? Sammy, maybe I'll start with you.
Wow. Thank you very much. And so I think it is not an entirely that all students don't return. Some return. Even with the instance I gave at the beginning of the discussion, I was like, the government sent some young people outside the country and all of that.
True.
Some returned and some didn't. And so now the question is, why didn't they return?
They return, exactly.
Good. And so I am thinking that when they go there to see how the system works, to see how the environment is, and they compare it to the kind of system they were in Africa or Ghana, in the kind of environment, they don't feel like coming back. That is one. And then two, some people also feel like they put some unnecessary pressure upon themselves. That is, they think that because they have traveled outside the country, before they return, they should be able, like they should be well and doing. And so they think definitely when they come back to Ghana, people are going to put demands on them because, you know, Boga Bafi. So if Boga is in the house, they will try and ask them, oh, please, can we get this and all of that. So they want to stay there long enough to make sure that by the time they return, they are fit, you know, they are well to do. Exactly.
Okay. Christiana, let me come to you.
Yeah, I would add up to what he said. Looking at our system, let's say someone had to travel out years back because it wasn't our structure, I mean, wasn't favorable to him or her. And is there doing well and still looks back and see there's no changes, why then should I come back?
Why should they come back?
No, there's no way I'm doing that. And sometimes too, they start up families there and the thoughts of relocating back to their home country is very difficult.
So now this brings me to my next question. What do you think these European institutions are doing differently from our African institutions that is making our people go there and do not want to come back? And do you think we can also pick up some of their qualities and also use in our institutions?
So with some of the European countries, your job is assured after school. This is when the Honorable Kennedy Japan just said that her daughter graduated and the next 2 days she has a job. Here in Ghana, after your service, you have to, unless you have connections, you know someone before you can get a job. But then in the European countries, your job is assured. I heard here in even Asha say, I'm not sure it's purely African, but then there's a job assured for every student who graduates. I think if you are able to bring that into existence, it will be good. I mean, no students would struggle to go back. Because to me, actually, if I should go out, sometimes I just want to be out there for vacation and not necessarily relocate there. But looking at...
So you wouldn't want to school there?
No, looking at the economy, I think... I'll just stay there for a while, make some money, come back, invest, go back.
They will follow you.
No, you shouldn't. Some should stay. We all can't go.
I mean, it looks like everybody wants to go.
Even if we would have to work for days, we would go.
The
system is not favorable.
And so to touch on this, you see, she mentioned for the fact that right after you graduate, there's a job waiting for you.
That's true.
It all boils down to the system. Their systems are working. Even if it's not working as they should, what we see is they are working. The systems are working as a result of the information we are getting and all of that. And so what they are doing differently is that they have put in place structures that checks on the systems.
That's true.
And so I think, yes, that is the systems. The systems are what our system needs to work.
And even their working conditions.
It's also good.
You know, you can work in between hours, and over here in Ghana, the average employee would be mad 25 cedis a day or 30 cedis. That's 8 to 5. But in overseas, you can work like 3 types of jobs and still make it.
True. I even heard they can pay you hourly. An hour when you work, there is an amount.
Even some are even paid for not even working.
There
are a whole lot of things that is attractive.
I'm just imagining, in Ghana here, when you are not working, they'll be paying you whilst
it's not that anyway.
Well, it's just something like him.
I forgot to add that I think the currency is also a contributing factor. The currency, because they feel like if I go to US, for example, and I get some $10, when I send it to someone in Ghana, it's a lot of money. Yes, it will be pounds. It's a lot of money. So the currency is also a contributing factor.
All right, so I want to read a statement here. There was an argument that came up quite recently suggesting that most students use education as a basis to travel in order to explore job opportunities and also to have a feel of the outside environment. I think we've spoken about that, but what do you make of the statement? Christy?
I absolutely agree with the statement. Like I said, someone will just use that as an excuse. You know, it's easier to get a visa, a student visa, than you just going there. So, why not say I'm going to do my master's 1-2 years then fast? It's either I do my papers or they just, you know, leave that state to another state just to be permanent there. So I agree with the statement.
Okay, Sammy?
Yeah, I also agree with the statement of the fact that gone were the days where you'll have to illegally travel by ship, boats or something to the Western countries. And so now I think the education, part of the education system has been like a gold mine for most young individuals because they feel like that is the only way they can. Because if they go and use any other factor, wanting to travel, most of the time they turn them down. It's difficult. And so the education is the only way we feel like we can use.
Okay, now let me come to, let me touch on our government more. You know, who do you think is to be blamed for student migration? So is it the government? Is it our institutions? Or let me say our parents or the student's preference? Sammy, I'll still be on you.
Okay, thank you very much. So with this, I think I'm going to give a percentage. Government, I'm sorry, but this is 60-40. Yes, 60-40. That is the problem. 60% is from the government, and then 40% is from the parents. This is why I'm saying 60% is from the government. 60% from the government because I know, yes, indeed, parents are to play a part for the systems to work, but then the government is solely responsible for the, you know, for the systems to work. And so, if the government is able to make the systems work, then it will make the parents also, you know, consider certain things in order not to send their parents outside, their children outside the country. And then the 40% I gave to parents was of the fact that when a parent sees that the neighbor's son or daughter has traveled outside and is back, they feel like there is that feeling, there's an honor, there's a privilege, you know, attached to it. And so they'll be like, okay, why not let my son also go? So that I also be called Bogamami, like that.
So you don't think the student has a role to play in this?
Well,
individual, just like how you both have the notion, or you have it at the back of your mind that you want to step out.
Yes, the students also have a role to play, but I mean, if you are a student and you want to travel and your parents are not allowing you, and your government has made sure that the systems are working, you won't go. You won't go. Yeah, you won't have any reason to travel outside.
Okay, so Christy,
with the part that he said, your parents and all that. So just last week, my auntie called me that in the UK they are looking for healthcare personnel, and so I should, make sure I get a certificate so that you'll be taken there to work for 5 years, then you'll be given the papers to stay and all that. I was like, I'm in my final year, I'm doing business admin. I did science in SHS, though, then I switched to business because I worked and I felt that was my field. You want me to go and do a certificate, healthcare, then go and relocate there just to get papers that, I'm going to UK, like, you see that sort of thing. So I think sometimes, too, it's the family issue. Others, too, want to go and bring back remittances. Me being a firstborn, I would want to go because of the good working conditions out there. I would want to go work there and be sending money home. So I think it's all part, and government too. So government too should make sure that at least the system works. If not for aside the entrepreneurship, there should be job offers. Now he's telling us that the payroll is full. And I think there are people in who are supposed to even go out, retire and all those things. So if you are able to make sure that all these institutions, there are checks and balances, I'm sure the system will perform. It would work.
Example, with the example she gave, that the government saying that the payroll is full. We, the students, believe in the government, and we believe that the government is trying every means possible to make the systems work. And that same government that I have entrusted in is telling me that the payroll is full. Of course, I will travel outside the country.
So we are almost coming to the end of the show. So what do you think can be done to minimize student migration outside Africa? This one I would want us to really talk a lot because I know there is a lot of work to be done on the ground. Sammy, I'll start from you.
Okay. thank you very much once again.
All right.
And so, first of all, systems.
Yes.
I've mentioned systems throughout this conversation.
Systems, yes.
Because systems. There is this guy on YouTube, let me say man, on YouTube who does this system age, my 247, the glass and coin, and all of that.
Okay.
Yes, he has gone, Chini Jonas, yes, thank you very much, Chini Jonas. Okay. He has gone there to see that, oh, what kind of system was I in? You know, the system is very different. Yeah. And so the government should make sure that the systems work. How are they going to make sure that the systems work? They need to, if possible, restructure the education system. Yeah. Yes, well, I don't have a degree in education or something, but then I think there should be a way that we can restructure the education system to factor in practicalities, to factor in, you know, practical aspects,
I think the
as well as
the
theories are too much, way too much. And then also, the government should make sure that they create more job opportunities, because if after school I go through the tour completing 4 years, and you know the amount of fees we pay and all of that, and then after that I'll have to stay home and depend on my parents again.
Looking for job, you know, the job hunting itself is even a problem.
Yes, yes, it's even a problem and all of that. So I think the systems must be made to work.
Okay, so with the, because we're talking about the mentality of parents and all that, I think we should educate or create awareness so that people would understand that, I mean, we are all here to help ourselves. It's not always about going out there. We should have the perception that, yes, we can do it here. Like he said, we think our certificate is not to the standards of theirs because we see the Europeans to be mightier than us. So if we are able to put that in our head that we can do it, we need to stay here and help the country and not necessarily go down that brain drain or something of that sort. I think that will really help. We have to check our mentality.
And with this, there has been several instances where we get feedback, we see in the news that individuals who travel outside Ghana or Africa excel and do much better than those who are even there. And so this should tell us that it is not of the fact that Ghanaians or the youth in Africa are not brilliant. They are brilliant. They are brilliant, but then the system cannot work.
So if you can go and come back and, you know, help with the new skills, I'm sure it will be better.
Okay, so if we can go and come and give back to our country, I think it's better. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very, very much.
So this has been African Student Voices on AAU TV, and we discussed continuous migration of students outside Africa, curbing the push and pull factors. You can also follow the conversation or get into the conversation on our social media handles: Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, AAU TV _African Universities on Twitter, and AAU TV Official on Instagram. See you same time next time. Bye.
This is a car, right? I mean, for us in Africa, this is too small to be a car, but it's a car, honestly. And this is what? This is a cyclist on his bicycle. Well, and this is another car. What is this driver? What did he do?
He noticed the door is open, so he's looking behind and he's going to run into there.
Okay. Now, this door is open and this door is also open. Now, you can complete the story. What do you think happened after this? Possibly. Yeah, so we imagine this guy ran into this guy and there was an accident. What caused this accident? Which of them really is the cause of this accident? I hope you know that if we don't resolve this problem today, we sleep here. Because this is a matter of importance and, this is safety and security. So who are we blaming here for this accident?
I think the bike.
Yes. Yes, Rahila.
Yes, sir. The guy on the bike should be blamed. But he's not watching while riding.
Okay.
And this other...
Rahila is going to blame this bike man. He will pull the bike man down, pull out, they call it kiboko in Swahili. We call it koboko here. Yeah, these are Arabic words. So she's going to flog with kiboko or koboko, this thing. Yeah, the bike man. Yes, Moses.
I will blame the bike man because he's responsible for his own life. Yes, he's responsible for his life. He should be watchful. He shouldn't keep his life in somebody's hand.
All right.
I'm not sure how the person will take it.
All right. Yeah, nobody should be surprised. I mean, we all know what Moses did to Pharaoh. So that this kind of suggestion is coming from Moses is perfectly in order. Take your own life in your hand. If you go and fall into River Egypt, River Nile, that's your headache. Okay, how many people will blame the bike man? Okay, all right. All right. Whom will you blame, Sheung?
Well, it's the car that's open, like this second car.
This one?
Yes, it's the independence to me. It's the independence variable.
How is it the cause of the accident?
Well, if it had not been there wouldn't have been
Any need to look back. All right. But it may also be that this guy hasn't read about Lot's wife. So that is another reason that we are going to blame. Okay. Are we seeing how something that is on the surface simple can really get complicated? Yes. Now, who is going to blame this guy here? Which is your surname? Because now the way the surnames are transposed.
Okay, the surnames are likely.
Okay, so Tunde, Baba Tunde.
Yes, sir.
Why would you blame the?
By the time you want to open the door,
But at least you look back.
yes.
I mean, it's not. Yeah. So, all right. Now let us untangle this a little bit. This is what we are saying. Sometimes, for an outcome to be produced, different independent factors have to work together. If this guy was not there, as innocent as his case appears to be, if this guy was not there, I don't know, but somehow, my first impression is there probably was a lady here that this guy, how men and ladies behave. Now, but if this car was not here, this man would not be looking back. If he did not look back, he would see this guy, even if this guy was there and the door was open. Right? Now, so this guy has to be here. This guy had to look back. This guy had to open the door. All these three have to be present for the accident to happen. Remove one of them, and there will not have been an accident. Let me check her name. Yes, Moses.
The cyclists are concentrated.
Yes.
Despite those two, there may not be.
That is what we are saying.
On the other card, I was in
They are not. There's not this business.
No, that is what we are saying. That is the point we are saying. Now let's bring this to let's bring this to real life. Well, that's also real life situation. Do you know that many times we concentrate in our policy. We take members of staff of an organization and we begin to spend money training them. As if training alone will lead to better performance. But if we are careful, we'll know that this training has to be complemented by a better reward system, has to be complemented by the necessary equipment and tools they need. If all of these three, if one is missing. So when this happens, we say what we have is conjunctural causation or conjunctural causality. Separate factors working together to produce an outcome. One working alone will not produce that outcome. Two working out instead of three instead of four may not produce that outcome. So it is not in every situation that an outcome is the product of just one singular X. There may be 2, 3 X's working together. A parked car with open door, with a good-looking babe inside it, a cyclist whose head is not in the right position, and then another car whose door is open, with a driver careless enough to open the door without checking if anybody was there. So all these three has to be there. And the implication for policy is we have got to be sensitive to the multiplicity of X's that may be at work in a particular situation. This is a study conducted by Susan here, Susan Kilonzo, our own Susan, Kenyan Susan. And she found that this is a study about devolution, power going down to, and she found that devolved decision-making plus free maternal care plus community sensitization led to increased access to referral services. All these three were present to lead to this outcome. Imagine, what do you think will happen if there is devolved decision making? Now, government at the lower level are now free to make decisions about health, yes. But then, maternal care was not free. Would people in the same number access referral services? No. They will say, once you refer me, I know I'm going to pay more. I will go home and pray. Then your neighbor will say, if I was going to tell you the other day when my husband when we pray like this, So, that is not going to lead to this. All these three have to be there. Maybe this will also apply to our trader money. Money without checks and balances, without entrepreneurial training, may not be able to lead to business growth. Maybe. I'm just guessing. This is a hypothetical example. A driver that was speeding. Oh, no. A driver that was speeding. This accident is our outcome, is our why. How did it happen? A driver was speeding, then elephants were crossing the road. What usually crosses the road in most of our African countries? It's not elephant. It's cattle. For us, if a goat crosses, that's okay. Then this guy pressed the brake, but then there was brake failure. And an oncoming vehicle, in other words, cannot go to the other side of the road. So this accident happened. This is a hypothetical example. I think we always want to emphasize the fact that in some cases, there is a multiplicity of X, but in our policy recommendations, we now say it as if you do just this one thing, it will happen. Just make insecticide-treated nets, just make these nets free for women. And then pediatric malaria will go down. That most cases can be too simplistic, and it may not work. So we have conjunctural causality. Sometimes what we have is not these different factors working together. We may have a situation where separately and independently, each factor is capable of producing that outcome. We say all road leads to Rome. It can be London sometimes. And this is just like one way of illustrating that. So this is people from, which part of the world is this? I know this place. This is Australia or New Zealand. Yeah, doesn't matter. So from Australia, so you land in Rome. From Lagos, Abuja, Rome. Each of these routes is capable of taking people to Rome without necessarily working with the other. And when we have that, we have what we call equifinality, equal destination, kind of, equal final outcomes. And this is an illustration. What is responsible for high level of poverty in some African states? Let's say this is. And this says economic recession alone does produce poverty. War alone can produce poverty. Corruption alone can produce poverty. So all the three do not have to be present for poverty to occur. This is an illustration. Maybe it's not a completely perfect one, but it's just to say this may be what we are finding, what our data, it may be the shape or the message that our data will throw up. When this happens, we call it equifinality. Equal ending, I think so. Equal final. Something like that. Yes, Perpetua.
Finding it difficult to now differentiate this diagram and that of conjunctural.
Yeah, okay. They very much look alike, I must say, but there is only one difference. And what is that difference? Yes. These are quantitative people. They see diagrams. They are used to diagrams. Yes, Crispin.
Okay, the first time. Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
The same as is very true. The difference is that if you take away one,
yes,
poverty will still okay.
Yeah.
But on the earlier example, if you take away one, the outcome
will thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I think that is in conjunction, they conjoin. Yeah, in this one, each is capable on its own of producing. To a laywoman. Okay, very good. Another pattern that we may find is what is called path dependence. Path dependence simply means some factors occurred in the past and they are responsible for the situation we have in the present. And so, if we want to understand behavior, if we want to understand situations, if we want to understand outcomes now, we need to go back to one thing, one decision, one event, some kind of thing that happened in the past in order to understand what the present is about. And if we want to undo or to solve the problem here, we do not look here, because that knot was tied by some event some time ago. And we look at this diagram, for instance. Here you see a pattern, like these independent stars or particles. But as time moves on, the variety seems to begin to converge somewhere around the middle. We just say phase 1, and then we have phase 2. Somewhere along this line, there is a lock-in, to the point that all these stars now continue to behave like this. In some situations, the reality is just like that. And if we don't understand what has happened in the past, we cannot explain why these things continue to be like this. If you like, keep throwing the different stars. Put one up here, it will come and settle here. Tie one here, it will find its way and go here. Because certain things have happened in the past that now predispose these items to take the shape that they take. I'll give you, again, I know this is quite abstract, but let's look at some very concrete examples. Let's start from an old example. You know, this was the way the QWERTY keyboard is arranged. Is really, there is no logic to it. I mean, it's not as if Q, there is nothing about this index finger and letter Q, or about this and letter AS, you know. But somehow it came to be. And then, of course, we also have ASCII, which is the French version of QWERTY. But even ASCII means nothing. I mean, I would be say if you start with A, B, C, D, E, then we say, okay, it follows alphabetical arrangement. But there is no language that begins with letter Q, followed by W. But some arrangement, some decision, some convenience elsewhere, then led to that. Now, you and I buy phones today, which is like 500 years older than this. But then they still follow the keyboard pattern, still follow the same. Yes, no. Yes. I know you can do something, you can download keyboard with A, B, C, D now that most people use. But you buy a laptop today, no, the ultra modern, the most expensive of them, like Remy's laptop. He spent a lot of money buying that thing. He still came with this confused keyboard. So, but why? Why won't keyboards change? Why won't people say, oh, come, let's sit down and change this thing? It's like, that is the way, it's okay. That is the way it has always been. So it's not even our decision. It's the decision of our ancestors. I mean, I'm making us to feel good because really, I don't think my ancestors even used this. So that is an example. But some more, other situations can just, you can't understand the outcome or whatever you are seeing here. It is not a product of now. It's a product of something that happened somewhere centuries ago, or maybe not that many years ago. One major implication of path dependence for policy, I'm sure it is clear. I'm sure we can guess what the implication of path dependence for policy is. What do you think? For instance, hey, Dayo.
I think it underscores the importance of history.
Okay, the importance of history, yeah.
How we use historical analysis and this kind of thing.
I agree with you, quite agree with you. But one thing path dependence teaches us is the longer a practice has lived, the more difficult it is to change it. The longer a tradition has been in existence, the more difficult it will be to change it. So there are situations where we have interethnic problems and people say, let's just sit down and talk about this thing. So they set up, what do they normally set up? Something of inquiry. commission, panel of inquiry. There's menu commission of inquiry. So they set it up, and then they call everybody together and say, okay, now you see, you have to love your brothers and you have to be your brothers' keepers. What you did was good, but what you did was bad. So now let us pray. Everybody pray. Now we have signed an undertaking. There will be no violence again in this community. Sometimes it doesn't take another month. And then a worse one even may happen. It's because we just didn't go beyond here. We are already here. So we're taking these stars. We put one. Okay, you stars, you are hitting one another. Stop hitting one another. So you stand here, you there, stand there. But there is something about this that is even beyond these stars that makes them to go again and collide. And until we understand that situation, what really caused this, which requires historical analysis most of the time, as Dio said, it's not easy to solve the problem. Yes, Nkechi?
What I think is that somehow saying the same thing, but in a different way.
Okay.
Like in a social development, when you see what is it called? You find out that a child that is maybe oral, forensic, and all those stages, when they are fixated at that time, in their adulthood, they will start acting in a way, and that way they are acting, you trace it back to. So most times it's not difficult to change that person. Stop chewing gum. You just tell an elderly person that is up to 32 that is always talking too much. Stop talking too much.
Or sucking finger.
Be very difficult. So when you trace it back to that age 0, 1, 2, 3, you find out that there was a physician during that period that causes this.
Yeah.
So the cause must be traced.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. There was a study of police reforms in the US. I've forgotten the author, but they discovered that there was these reforms that were proposed, and some police stations quickly adopted the reforms. And others were, you see, they were procrastinating. And you know how strong and independent these institutions are in the developed countries. So they weren't taking up these reforms, And these researchers went about just what is it that is causing, what is the X to this reluctance to adopt these reforms? What is the cause? And you and I would think, maybe the cause is, And so I don't remember exactly what their findings, but they discovered that first and foremost, the ones that are resistant to these reforms are the old established police stations. The new ones were quickly taking up the reforms. In other words, these guys, their ways were set. They had their method of doing things and everything and how it goes, and everything depends on that. That is why it is easier to start something new in Bowen, for instance, and it will happen. When you start it in University of Legon or UI, they'll say, no, that is not, It is not because you are a private university alone, but it's also because these people already have established traditions. Right. Okay. Are there questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Critical juncture and the locking.
Well, locking is locking. I mean, it's just to say something happens here that this variety really came to a close here. But thank you. Critical juncture is a moment or an event that then dictates, that has a long-lasting impact on other things that follow. Typically, it can be a big political event. It can be even not so loud. Most people would say Vatican II in the Catholic Church is this critical juncture. And that from this point on, things began to take the kind of shape for some time, and then there is a lock-in, and now this is what you see in the church, in the Catholic Church. Like, okay, so there is like an established way of doing things. Diversity seems to really have been mainstreamed. You go to Catholic Church and I say, I want to be praying loud, and yeah, it's okay, you are accommodated. You'll be praying loud, you'll be, yeah, but then, yeah, so, but then the basic Catholicism is still there, that defines who you are. If you want to still remain a part. I don't know whether this is a very good example. Yeah. Okay. I did say earlier on that we are going to spend some time here. This in between X and Y, because it is really one major way of proving that something is a causal relationship rather than correlation. And so we will look at the next few slides to think about what we call the causal mechanism or causal chain. In the equation that we drew, where we say X is the cause, Y is the outcome, so we use Z. Sorry? We use Z to stand for causal mechanism. Sorry, not this one here. And we look at these types of causal chains that we have. Typically, we can have a direct causal relation. In other words, we don't even have a chain in between, just as I said when we started. And we say that is really uncommon in social situations. Yeah, I think it's possible to say a gunshot and then death, and there is nothing in between, maybe. But in most real-life situations, you usually have some steps in between. For want of a better term, we just call this indirect causal chain, whereas we call this one direct. I mean, nothing in between. But this one we say indirect. There is something in between. So this is child's ability, this is academic achievement. But in between child's ability and academic achievement, we have school type. We can have something that is a bit more typically, it looks more like this. There are several, not just one, several events or steps in between X and Y. This is abstracted from a study that we did that Ernest mentioned this morning. So democratic status and poor service delivery. Now, let me just summarize that the question is whether the democratic status of a local government influences its service delivery. And we know in Nigeria, there are two types of local government administration. There is the type that people voted for and elected, and there are very few these days. And there is the type that the Constitution allows the governor to say, hey, I like the way you campaigned when I was in the election, how you slapped that other guy who was very rude. I hope he has learned his lesson, and now make you the chairman of your local government. He's not even happy.
There is no name of local government.
Are you from, what's your local government? Okay. Go and resume tomorrow. Say I made you chair. Now, those ones are appointed, right? So we're wondering, would this matter in the way these local government area administrations deliver when it comes to to service delivery? So this is actually a status elected. This is the status of the elected. So this should have been an elected democratic status. Leads to pressure to perform. these chairmen in this category who were elected feel pressured to impress those who elected them and to also assert their administrative competence and so on and so forth. As a result of that, they created big projects. They brought some people in the local government we studied, they brought some people together, they gave them uniform. They say, you are now community police. We'll be paying you 5,000 naira every month. They started renovation and so on and so forth. In between this and that, there are some other steps. Money dried up. Remember that whether you were elected or appointed, the money from the federal government coming to you will be paid to whom? To the states. Then the states say, yeah, they call it a joint, yes, joint allocation. Joint allocation something. Joint local government account. So the governor of this state or county, in the case of Kenya, then says, okay, yeah, you got X amount, but you see this road and that road, so just take this more, do whatever you can do with it and eat, yeah, and so on. So, but this one, so even if you are independently elected, you are still at the mercy of the state governor. So money dried up, projects were abandoned, and this guy got very bad rating in his service delivery. So rather than being, election leading to better services as theory would lead us to expect, election here leads to even poorer services. But this is just like a causal relationship or a causal chain. We are interested in here and how these steps work out. It may even be more complicated than this. Take this as boxes and lines, which is what they are. So, elected democratic status, pressure to perform on one hand, expansion of, this is just an illustration, this is not what we found. Yeah, so, but let's imagine this guy was elected, he faces pressure to perform, and then he expands government institutions. This leads to increase in government expenditure. Then there is no money to spend on service delivery. This one, pressure to perform, he creates big projects, and then also as pressure to perform, it increases government spending, it increases salaries of civil servants. Yeah. So it drains the income, revenue, and then all of that leads to poor service delivery. Sometimes we wish reality is as simple as direct causal relation, but sometimes in reality it is hardly ever like this. How many of us remember this guy called Sheikh in Steve Sloman's work?
The guy who tried to poison his wife.
He tried to poison?
His wife.
No?
The wife tried to.
Oh yeah, the wife tried to. The mistress.
It was the wife that. The wife tried to. The wife wanted to. Then the mistress cut her back. Then the mistress cut her back. Then the water.
Yeah. So here was the guy who set out, nice guy, married just one wife, but then had a mistress outside, and then set out to travel across the desert, maybe long distance in those days, and then filled his water bottle with water. But then the wife heard and felt, if this guy goes and dies, at least all this money will be mine. So he went there and put sniper. In Nigeria, sniper is poison. So she went there and put a few drops of poison, covered it back neatly. Then the mistress also heard that, Oga is traveling. So she said, if he goes and dies, at least he cannot come back and be talking like he wants to take back this brand new car he has bought for me. So my life will be more secure. So she took a fine pin, I'm just joking, and then drilled a hole there. Poor man took off, you know the story. Poor man took off the following day and went on his way. Midway in the desert, he was thirsty, he wanted to drink. He brought out the canteen. There was no water there. The water had leaked. He didn't find water anywhere. He emaciated, lost strength, and died. So, question, who killed the sheikh?
The mistress.
The mistress killed the sheikh. Right. Yeah, so dehydration killed the sheikh. Dehydration was caused by the leaking water. Leaking water was caused by the puncture. Puncture was caused by the mistress. Now, technically speaking, the wife is also guilty. Because even if the mistress was not there, he would have died. Sniper does not joke with anybody. He would have died. Maybe even more quickly. But the truth of the matter is, we can establish a causal chain from the action of the mistress to the outcome, which is the death of the sheikh. We don't know. But then we cannot establish any causal link between the action of the wife and the death of the sheikh. So these two women are standing in front of you and you are the judge. The only reason you are going to just scold the wife and let her go and ask that the mistress be sent to the gallows is just the presence or absence of a causal chain, isn't it? That is just what makes the difference between life and death in this situation. And that is why in established causation, this is really, really the most important part of our concern. How credible, how strong is that link between the X and the Y? So this is the story. Wife poisons, mistress punctures. But it is only here we have this chain leading here. We do not have this. This did not happen. This line is fake. Yeah, because he didn't drink, according to the story, he didn't drink that water.
By intention. Maybe there could be some other hidden factors.
Yeah, of course, there will be antecedent factors here. It may be envy, it may be greed, it may be something else, yeah. And somewhere, the antecedent factors we meet in the fact that Sheikh has a wife and a mistress. Maybe if he had had just the mistress.
So he caused He's a sheikh. So he caused his own. The intention does not come in here at all.
Well, I know. Well, I am not. I am. We can blame somebody for intention. This is actually more than intention. This is an attempt. Yeah. Yeah, but then it didn't happen. Yes. Aha. So now, well, I don't know what the law of the world says. Yeah. But yes.
In criminology context, there's action and motives, and for any criminal act to be established, there must be fusion between the motive and the action. So
Okay.
just one standing at roof, and then actually
That dimension is.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that is fine. You. All we know is that the X is the mistress, and the Y is Sheikh's death in this situation. Yeah. Okay. We need, Nkechi, after your question, we just move. We change gear.
So please, I want to know, we have moderating and mediating. How do we get, which one is moderating and which one is mediating?
Yeah, okay. Can you give us an example of a moderating? It doesn't have to be here. It doesn't have to be in this story. give us a live example of mediating or moderating.
Like let's say school food that you give to children.
Yes.
During classes.
Mm-hmm.
Increase their level between food and that achievement.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some factors before the achievement, which might be moderating before the this thing. But what is confusing me now is the difference between this moderating and mediating. I just want to understand when it comes to this.
Okay, so who can help us?
Just
Sorry?
Just thinking.
Okay.
No valid support. From the use of words, I feel mediating is positively influencing.
Yeah.
And moderating could be either way.
Yeah, okay.
I feel.
Okay.
No back pains and literature.
Okay. Okay. Nkechi, what do you think? I mean, I know these terms are buried in our quantitative analysis, but what do you think, Nkechi? If you were put on the spot and they say you will not have supper if you don't tell us the difference, I'm sure you will say something. When we talk about the research questions and hypotheses tomorrow, we will talk about this, but it will not, we will not be using these terms. We will see that our research question or hypothesis can focus on the X, trying to understand the cause. But then there are situations we have a cause. We are trying to understand the outcome. So research question can also focus on the outcome. Like if we say trader money is a policy, you may be interested in finding out what the outcomes of trader money is. So the question is not what is the cause of, the question will be what is the outcome of trader money. But our research question can also focus on the mechanism. How does trader money produce? Yeah. That is where some of these factors may fall. But then I think more close to that is our research question that focus on the conditions. Yeah, under which X leads to Y. So you hear research questions like under what conditions do online activism produce response from government officials in democratic whatever. So it's not about the X, it's not about the Y, it's about this environment. Under which environment does this happen? So that's where you are going to have factors that accelerate, maybe moderate, or fast factors that slow, mediate, factors that slow down, or in fact try to clutter that progress, process. Maybe that's what you call moderate. Maybe the first one is mediate. I do not remember, but I think we will deal with this tomorrow. Maybe you should bring up this question again. Okay. Earlier on I said there are people who feel very comfortable with this. I just want to say that it is not everywhere or every time that causation must be explained in the form of diagrams. Yeah, no. It's also possible to have it written out in prose. There are people who are not really really good in this, or So it's good to know that I don't have to, if I don't know how to do diagram, it's good to learn. But then, if I'm reading something and I'm not seeing diagram, it's not enough to say, this must be a study that is not causal. I say, where is the diagram? You know. This is taken from a publication by Bachman. This guy is trying to explain how, why drug trafficking seems to be something difficult to track, or how it happens really among people. And say an individual is neglected by his parents, okay, parental neglect. He comes to distrust others and has trouble making friendship, has trouble in school, and eventually gets addicted. Now, parental neglect leads to inability to have a sustained relationship. So inability to sustain relationship leads to somebody really on your own all the time. And so that then if you're on your own, the tendency is to want to get, the best of whatever that situation, and then drug comes in. To support his habit, he starts selling drugs, and then he's arrested, convicted of drug trafficking. You can see he's trying to lead parental neglect to arrest and conviction for drug trafficking, or just drug trafficking. And he lists out the chain of events, how these things connect. So it doesn't have to always be in diagrams. It can be this way. Let me close this session by saying, when we say causal chain or causal mechanism, we are really particular about one thing leading to the other. We can make that mistake. Please forgive me. No. We can make that mistake of just listing events that are simply sequential, rather than events that are cause and effect, So historical accounts sometimes, not all the time. Somebody has quarreled with me over this before. Historical accounts sometimes just detail what happened one after the other, rather than detailing one thing leading to the other, leading to the other, leading to the other. I don't know whether this makes sense to us. So I woke up, I dressed up, I got into the car, drove to the office, and got a sack letter. That is just one thing following another. There is nothing that say wake up then led me to dress. I may wake up and so there is no. It's just a sequence of events rather than a cause and effect situation. I think we just want to be careful when we read, just to know how to respond to these things. Yes. Susan.
I'm wondering how we can explain in case we cut it halfway or somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, like
if
taking the first two, does it mean democratic status can be?
Yeah, so that's what it means.
So, meaning there are about 4 outcomes.
No, we will not call them outcomes here, because for us it helps to know that when we are tracing the outcome, when we get to the outcome, we are stopping there. We won't call them outcomes because this is really not what we are trying to explain. This is what we are trying to explain, and these are the steps that lead us there. So this is like living on the 3rd floor, and then you get to the midway and stop. Everybody upstairs is going to be wondering what happened to you, because you promised to be here. You know what I mean? But if I'm trying to explain abandoned projects, then this is my outcome. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Shortly, we'll be speaking with one of our key facilitators for this training, and he happens to be one. Let me just put it so straight. He's the brain behind some of the models that we have seen today, and we are privileged to be speaking to him, for him to share a lot of insight with us and his experience as well throughout the entire journey. Prof, you're welcome to your television.
Thank you very much.
Great. So you would have to tell us your name, and then your university, and something brief that you want to share with us before we even go into the full conversation.
My name is Ayo Bami or Jebode. I am from the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. I am currently the head of Department of Communication and Language at University of Ibadan. And I've been a facilitator on this program. First, I was a trainee and then a facilitator. I've been a facilitator since 2014. Yes.
Great. So yesterday during the official opening, when your name was mentioned, I could hear there was sudden applause. Why do you think people were just giving you that kind of applause? I was very curious, and I'm still curious to find out why.
Well, it's. I really wish we could ask them why they applauded. I can only guess. It's hard. I think. I mean, I guess in the audience there were many people that knew me and I had interacted with, and I think they have pleasant feelings about me, and so they say, "Oh yeah, that is him." Who? Yeah, it's. I don't know. Well, I mean, I can't say why they applauded. It probably was for good, but maybe not totally. I don't know.
Okay, so one of the key things we picked had to do with the impact stories that people could share with us based on the level of knowledge and the experience that we've passed on as a lecturer in this university. In terms of research, what would you share with us as academics? What is the real gap in research in Africa, and what is PASGA doing to fill this gap as well?
Well, I think in Africa, the state of research in Africa calls for a lot of sober contemplation. I think, in my view and from my experience, I would say there are two issues that are at stake when we talk of research in Africa. One is a research regime or approach that is grounded in the realities of Africa, rather than one that tries to weigh and judge the realities of Africa from a Western normative perspective. And this is a big problem, because we still read as our compulsory texts the research methods textbooks that originated from the West, and we still read and apply the theories of those who theorized for their environment without any knowledge of Africa. And so we continue to force to panel beat the African reality to fit into the explanations that are foreign to them. And this is not good. And I have absolute respect for Western scholars for the good work they have done in research methods and in theorizing. But in all honesty, what they know in most cases just does not speak to the realities of Africa. So, and I think, and this has been said many, many, many times, that the grand approach to research in Africa does a lot of injustice to our situation. So that is the first thing. So we've had to adopt a methodology, a philosophy, a perspective that is grounded in our realities. The second is that there is this very wide gap between researchers in Africa and policymakers and policy actors. And Africans do a lot of good research, but then they end up on the pages of the academic journals and theses. Who uses this research? I mean, just doing research and making recommendations to policymakers do not change anything. So we need a regime of critical policy engaged research, not just policy relevant research in Africa. And PASGA is responding deliberately to these two gaps that I have seen. So in our training, in the professional development training that I am part of, there is a lot of effort in taking knowledge from the West or from anywhere, wherever, including the East, but then ensuring that these are mere tools that may be applicable to the realities of Africa. If they do not, then we leave them. Second is that there is a module on how researchers can do research that influences policy, and this is two of the ways by which I believe PASGA has been responding to the situation of research in Africa.
Okay. Great. So, like you said, PASGA has done a great job. This is the 23rd, 24th cohort, and it's been amazing. What will you be the impact story, or what is the impact story that you share with us?
Well, I can speak for myself. I can also tell stories that people have shared with me. I was trained in PASGA in 2012 and 13, it spilled over to 13, and I've been a facilitator from that time. Many things have happened, but one is the turnaround that has happened to my teaching of research. And I've been able to take
huge part of what I gained in PASGA, and then cascaded that to the contents of my research methods class, so that my students then are better equipped than I was when I was at their level to do good research, to do policy engaged research, and to follow up even with distributing this research in ways that reach policy actors. So that is very key for me. The second is that PASGA, my involvement with PASGA has equipped me to go beyond research in communication studies, which is my area. I've been able to collaborate with other people and now in other disciplines, and now we are doing research that are not strictly communication. We have done research on community-based crime prevention, and I led the team, but then I had to bring in other people who are interested in, or who are qualified and with whom I can work. And that also involved partnership with people from as far away as El Salvador in Latin America. So that is one of the things. I mean, just to say that no matter what the discipline, no matter what the context, a good research is a good research, and good design is good design. It's not a property of a particular discipline or a particular context. And I think that is really very important. As a matter of fact, the first thing we learn in PASGA is you have to come out of your disciplinary cocoon to be able to network and to be able to do critical imagination about the situations in which we live.
So, assuming I give you $2 million, what key thing will you do in terms of research in Africa?
Well, if I have $2 million, that's a lot of money. Believe you me, the first thing I'm going to do is to ensure that as many Africans as possible go through this training. And I am going to now tell me as soon as the money finishes. Maybe that's going to be. Maybe I'm going to devote half of the money to that. And I believe that with 100 million naira, did you say 200 million? $2 million. With $1 million, then you can train another cohort of about 400 or more Africans, and then I'll follow this up with practical funded research that allows them to immediately apply what they learned here. So that, here, by the time you come for this training and you finish, you have a concept note that is really ready to fly, like a research proposal that is ready to fly. Now, I'm going to ensure that the money funds those research so that they do not die as ideas, as good ideas, but then that they take on shape and they are able to they get published and completed and published.
Great. So in the next 5 years, what should we be expecting from PASGA, especially through the PDS program?
Yeah, I think the PDT program, I imagine. Now, this offering, that is this diet that is going on, is significant in many ways. This is the first regional diet that is going on. Cohort 1 to 22. All were trained in Nairobi. This is the first time we're having this training outside of Nairobi. And I believe this will be a success, therefore to encourage PASGA to move further afield to other regions. And you see, when you take a training to people's regions, then financial difficulties is reduced. Then more and more people will do that. So I think in the next 5 years, I expect that PASGA is going to be able to reach and equip many more people. Now they're also going to need to begin to track these people more deliberately. Yeah.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, Prof. And we are so much grateful for the good job that you are doing.
My $2 million.
See me in chambers for that. All right, great. So we just finished speaking with Prof, and he's requested for his $2 million, and it's been an exciting and insightful discussions with him, taking his journey on the PDT program. So now keep watching AAU Television. My name is Chrissy Sam.
So hi there and welcome to another insightful and informative episode of AAU Talks on AAU TV. My name is Ajiman Ochudako, and as usual, we bring you very topical and trendy issues in African higher education. And today's own is a special one because we have with us professor from the theological discipline who's helping us to understand something very, very important on how religion contributes to peace and security in Africa. And we'll be having Professor Price. I mean, you will want to know more about Professor Price and what he does. So don't go anywhere. Go for a quick break. We'll come back. I'll let you know who he is. He's going to tell us more about himself. And then afterwards, we zoom straight into the discussion about how religion contributes to peace and security in Africa. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. You're welcome back to AAU Talks on AAU TV. My name is Ajiman Ochudako, and before we went on a break, it was about who our guest is today, a man well endowed in theology, and he's going to help us break down the issue of how religion contributes to peace and security in Africa. And the case study will be more about the biblical point of view, because he's a theologian, so he's well versed in that arena. However, we'll also try and expound on the role of higher education institutions in contributing with religion to peace and security in Africa. So we'll also find ways and means to bring in the role of higher education in this whole discussion. So if you're with me, Prof, if you can hear me. Hello, Prof. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
All right. So you're welcome to AAU Talks, and we'd like to know a little bit about yourself and what you do, and then walk us through the biblical perspective of how religion contributes to peace and security. So let's know who Professor Price is.
Thank you very much, viewers, and thank you, AAU team, for this opportunity to share with you my views on how religion contributes to peace and security in Africa. I'm Professor Peter Price. I'm based in Maryland, USA. I have two roles. One, I am a professor of French, and two, I am a theologian and a pastor. And so I write Bible, Christian theological research textbooks for use in religious departments and by pastors, and to train pastors for the missionary, etc. So from time to time I also speak with authors, because I am also a Quran scholar. And I research the Quran. I teach the Quran to Muslims so that they can know and understand the real person of Jesus Christ that is written in their own holy book. So these are the things that I do. Thank you.
Great. So with such a very great background in theology and also in academia, we would like to start with what we're looking at, how religion contributes to peace and security in Africa. And from your perspective, that is a whole work done, well researched from the foundation. Let's start like this. Do you believe that religion has got any connection or any bearing to peace and security from your perspective?
I do not think so, because religion is, the reality of religion is that, let me take it from two perspectives. The first perspective is the deception that religion is understood to be by many people in Africa and around the world. Many people in Africa and around the world think that religion has a lot to do with God worship, has a lot to do with holiness, has a lot to do with piety, has a lot to do with being righteous. That is what the general understanding is. And they look at pastors in our midst and in the society and they tend to think that that is religion. But that is not the correct understanding of religion. And I say it's not the correct understanding because I'm coming from the background of the Holy Bible, so that if you want to understand the doctrines, that is where you stand and you speak from the Holy Bible. So from that general perspective in the public, the other perspective is that religion has nothing to do with holiness. Religion has nothing to do with worshiping God. And on the contrary, religion has a lot to do with spreading a lot of falsehood and deceptions and criminality among pastors and in the church. And so religion definitely does not contribute to peace and security in the world because it is presented as a false kind of worship, which is not.
Well, that is very, 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 very surprising, though. I mean, the astonishing part is that the world believes that religion is the reason why there should be less crime, less dishonesty, unless they creating a better place in this world is much more inspired by religion. But you say something different, that religion is not really the point. So what else then is the essence of religion, if it is not just here to make the world a better place or to inspire peace and security?
If you look at the Word of God in Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 15, the Lord reveals to us that all the evils and the wickedness in the world begin from the church and they spread into all the land. That's Jeremiah 23:15. And then when you go in the book of Ezekiel, you have the same doctrine over there. And then when you go into 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 17, God Almighty says that judgment will begin in the house of God. All these three references that I've given you point to the fact that the church is not the place where you have pure religion. And so religion does not in any way help in bringing that kind of peace and security that people think. People are thinking so because they have been deceived. But the truth is that in the entire Holy Bible, God uses the word religion only 5 times, and there is not even one of them that is positive. Number 2, God uses the word peace 400 times in the Holy Bible, and not one of them is connected to religion. All the teachings of the Holy Bible concerning religion are negative. Religion is the platform where people devise wickedness to spread into the whole land, as the Word of God says. Thank you.
Well, I think we just began. We just had the ball rolling. So you may feel a bit surprised, but we have to dig deep because Prof. Price has just given us more insights. So, Prof, if that's the case, then if religion isn't really what we expect it to be, then perhaps there wouldn't be any reason. Why then do we have spread across so many religions? I mean, the likes of Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Shintoism. What is the essence? If it is not for a better life on this earth, then why are we actually enrolled in all these things? Because we're talking about religion and peace and security. We believe that it has a connection. We believe it has an essence to create an aura of peace. So if it is the inverse, then why are we all cloaked in these religions all over the world?
The short answer to your question is because religion is a business. Religion is a business to enrich the few who control it. If you look at, for example, the Roman Catholic Church that took part in funding the South African apartheid, and also the Anglican Church that actively took part in funding the transatlantic slave trade and several other atrocities that the churches have committed over centuries. Religion is not the arena where people are trained to be righteous, but rather people have come to accept religion because they have been deceived into thinking that religion is something that helps them to go to heaven, but rather religion is a source of enrichment. Religion is a factory for manufacturing millionaires and billionaire pastors who rip off the people. They work, the people work and bring their money to these pastors and prophets who live in luxury lifestyles, while the people are deceived continually to think that when they bring their money to the pastors and the prophets, then God will bless them. But I wonder if you can find me any one person who has been paying his or her tithes for the past 100 years, and he can open a door or a house and tell you that all these things God has given him because he was paying his tithes to the church. No, it's not so. Majority of those who have been paying tithes are being deceived because they are not taught the truth of what religion is. They are told that religion will help them to go to heaven, but at the same time, the pastor himself, who is collecting the monies from them, does not believe that his blessing is in heaven. He believes that he has to get his blessings right here on the earth and live in luxury and buy private jets, while the people who are paying him that money, they wallow in poverty and in sickness, and they're not even cared for at all.
Oh, if that's the case, then I'm very, I'm eager to ask. Then what is true religion? What is true religion then?
Thank you. True religion is, as you can see in James chapter 1, verse 27. That's where true religion is. True religion is the poverty-centered religion. True religion, as defined in the Holy Bible in James chapter 1, verse 27, where it says that true religion is where you take care of the poor, where you visit the widow. So true religion is a system of helping the poor, the needy, the widow, the strangers, the fatherless, and the destitute in society. The Lord says in the book of Ezekiel that the shepherds, that means the pastors and the prophets and all the people who are in leadership in the churches, they are supposed to feed the flock, but they do not feed the flock, they feed themselves. And this is what we see today. They feed themselves, that is why they live in luxury lifestyles. That's why the pastors and prophets are millionaires and billionaires. But true religion is the religion that is the poverty-centered religion. If you want a name for true religion, then the name is righteousness. The name of true religion is righteousness. And you might want to ask, how can I identify the people who practice this true religion? You can identify them by their truth. People who speak the truth, people who uphold the judgment and righteousness of the Lord God Almighty. These are the people in the true religion. So the people who are practicing the true religion, they are not actually being in the forefront or in the mainstream of things in the world, but they are there. They practice truth and they live in righteousness. They help the poor, the needy, the widow, the stranger, the fatherless, and the destitute. That is the name of the true religion, righteousness. Thank you.
Great. So after saying a good premise on religion, let's come to Africa. I mean, it's all about, we're looking at how religion can contribute to building peace and security in Africa. But I think that on the foremost, you've really debunked the essence of religion in terms of it being purported to be the only antidote for creating peace, but rather the inverse. So now we have no independent variable here. Rather, the dependent variables are there. So what will be, I know we'll come back later for that appropriate independent variable that will fit for the dependent variable, which is peace and security. But let's look at Africa. That we're looking at peace in Africa. Would you want to say anything about the Africa we mean today, or is there any revelation about the Africa we mean today?
The Africa that we have today is an Africa that happens to be the center of the world. If you look at ancient maps, you will see that Africa was always the center of the world. And if you look at the story of creation, Africa is the place where humanity started. Africa is also the gateway to heaven. When you think about Jacob and when he was fleeing from his brother Esau to Laban, and he dwelt in a place, he stayed in a place overnight where he dreamt and he saw the ladder that extended from heaven into the earth, and he saw the Lord sitting, and the Lord made a covenant with him, and he said, this is the gate of heaven. And that is also the same place where you have Abraham, who built the altar called Bethel. It is the same Bethel altar that Jacob, his grandson, found. And so Africa is a very, very important place, both spiritually and materially. I have mentioned a little bit of the spiritual importance of Africa, but when you come to the material importance of Africa, you ask yourself, why is it that the whole world comes to Africa for their raw materials? How is it that you have a country like Switzerland? It doesn't produce tea and coffee, but yet it is exporting tea and coffee to African countries. Why is that so? It gets the tea and coffee from Africa and then labels them and sends them to Africa. Why is it that European countries do not plant cocoa, and yet they are the ones selling cocoa and dictating the price of cocoa to Ghana, when Ghana is one of the best producing cocoa countries in the world, and yet Ghana does not have a say in the pricing of cocoa in the world. And so materially, you have Africa that has all that. When you talk about Congo, Congo is a place where you have the material that is used in manufacturing cell phones and laptops, and there is a particular material that without the material,
cobalt and titanium.
Thank you very much. And you have all this here in Africa, but tell me who in Congo takes part in deciding the prices of these materials. So Africa is the center of the world. And when you conduct your geographical research also, you will find out that, as the Lord says, that he told Abraham that in thee shall all the nations of the world be blessed. So that without Africans, there will be no world. Without Africa and the natural resources of Africa, there will be no world. And that is why the white people came to Africa and colonized Africa. And so there are so many examples that I can give, but let me just stop here for now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's getting interesting, and we'll have to go for a short break. When we come back, we'll proceed as Prof. Price will now take us through more about the Africa we want, the Africa that needs peace and security, and the role that religion will play. However, if religion can't play that role, what else can play that role? So stay with us. We'll be right back. Back to AAU Talks. I am Ajimon Ochodako, and I'm joined here by Professor Price, and he's a theologian and also academician in languages, French particularly, and he's in the USA, Maryland, and we're talking about the contribution of religion to peace and security. And Prof. Price, so initially we began with the essence of religion, but religion seems not to have the right feet to stand to provide the peace and security the world needs. So now we wonder, what else then will be the right variable to replace religion to give us the peace and security the world deserves?
There is need for the church to wake up. There is need for the church to work in synergy with the government so that the government will regulate the churches in such a way that the misfits will be thrown out. There has to be a platform where people, when prophets make pronouncements that infringe upon the human rights of the people, they should be arrested. When prophets and pastors who are uneducated, who are illiterate, come into the profession and they start making pronouncements and teaching doctrines that are contrary to the word of God, they should be arrested. Just as how you will not have medical professionals allowing quacks to perform amongst their midst. It is also the same thing that we should adopt in the church arena. It should not be a situation of separation of church and state, as was started in 1905 in France, that we have adopted today, whereby we think that the church and the state should be separated, and the state should have nothing to do with the church and should not regulate the church. Currently in the USA, it is in the US Constitution that the Congress shall not make any law to regulate the church. But that means also that that is a gate to quack pastors and to illiterate pastors to come duping the people and telling the people all sorts of lies that you cannot trace in the Holy Bible. I will say, for example, that the government should, through even the Ministry of Education, regulate the churches in such a way, because that churches, actually, a church is a school. Yeah. Christianity is a school. Christianity basically is a school to teach the doctrines of Jesus Christ. So once we move away from the unverifiable faith level practice of Christianity, we move away from the impenetrable spirituality of churches and practicing of religion, then we can start teaching the true doctrines of the Holy Bible for people to understand. It is not going on today right now. People are not being taught the truth of the Holy Bible. People are not being taught the truth of tithing. People are being taught that you should bring your tithe every Sunday. But have they been telling the people that tithe is not money at all? Tithe is not money. Tithe is food. But why are they refusing the food? Why do they prefer the money? Just because they want to dupe the people. And so the correct teaching has to take place, and quacks have to be removed from the churches. That is when the true colors of the church will begin to shine and to show for the people to see that the church is actually a place to be.
Prof, do you believe in the Quran as well?
I believe that the Quran has reproduced a lot of the Word of God. The Quran, in as much as the Quran reproduces all those quotations and texts from the Old Testament and the New Testament, then it is also the Word of God. You see, the Quran advises Muslims to believe in Jesus Christ. The Quran says actually that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, contrary to what Muslim scholars teach their faithfuls, that Jesus Christ is not the Son of God. In my book that I wrote titled Topics in Translation Review, I have done this research from cover to cover of the Quran, and I have discovered that the Quran actually says that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Number two, the Quran actually says that Jesus Christ is the Messiah and is God.
Can you prove these Quran chapters for the good of our viewers to also appreciate that?
Yes, I have them. The book is about 1,000 pages long, and it is titled Topics in Translation Review.
Okay.
So when you Google Topics in Translation Review, you will be able to find these teachings.
Okay. So many say that before the call of Abraham, there was traditional worship. There was some pagan worship. Abraham was a product out of pagan worship. So initially there was some sort of religion. So religion here is an open space where anybody can entrust themselves into a deity or any other supreme being and believe in. So there was once a system of belief, which I believe you can admit to, right?
That is correct. Abraham came from.
Today we find education or higher education trying to enhance civilization and create more modernity in our world. Is that the new replacement for religion? would you recommend? Would you think it has the right legs to do that?
Well, there are two parts to your question. One was the worship or the religion of Abraham. That is correct that Abraham came from a pagan worship family. And so God asked him to come out from among his people and showed him the right form of worship. But there is one sentence that defines Abraham's relationship with God. It says that, and Abraham believed God, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. So the key word is believing. And believing is not only enough, because in the book of James, you have God saying that the devils also believe and they tremble. And so when you believe, you have to add works to your belief. That means that you have to believe God and walk in the righteousness of God, upholding the judgments of God, and living in righteousness with your neighbor, living in righteousness with. So there are two there are two dimensions. The vertical dimension with God, that is the judgments, and then the horizontal dimension with your fellow man, that is the righteousness. So you uphold the judgment of God, and then you live in righteousness with your fellow neighbor. Now, the other part of the question talks about education and how, if you can repeat that part again.
Yeah, so basically, now religion, we've tried to find, we sought to find the good in religion that could enhance people or people's ability to uphold the world's peace and security. But as per the deliberation, we realized that religion in this sense today has been defaced and perhaps the inverse of what we believe or what we perceive it to be. So I was curious that if we were to replace religion with something else, then let's say higher education today seeks to enhance civility, seeks to enhance modernity, and any other good virtue in people, bringing out the good in us and making us live in a world where people would be responsible and transformative agents. So is higher education the new a new beacon to transform the world, or to transform Africa per se, to a much more peaceful and secured continent? Would you admit to that?
What I will say is that the Word of God has its very important role, because man is a spiritual being before becoming a physical being. And so when you remove the Word of God from there and replace it with normal world education, then you will be missing a lot, because morality alone that comes from the Word of God tends to help people to do what is right, even though the churches are not doing it at their optimum and in the right way. So what is needed is a radical and drastic reformation of the churches. The country of Rwanda